What's going on, guys? So we have a huge update that I want to bring you. This is big. This is really breaking news. I want to break this down because this is going to affect millions and millions of Americans for multiple reasons. First, over the past few days, I have talked about how Democrats, particularly Ron Wyden, a senator from Oregon, he was proposing a bill that would block any private debt collectors from garnishing your $1,400 stimulus checks. Well, you have some news on that. Today, Senator Pat Toomey decided he was going to vote against the bill by Senator Ron Wyden and block private debt collectors from garnishing the $1,400 stimulus checks. So, what this means is there is nothing that Democrats can do at this point because, according to Senator Pat Toomey, he stated if Democrats would have just done a bipartisan bill and worked with Republicans in the previous $1.9 trillion stimulus package, they would have included that verbiage into the bill, and there would be no way private debt collectors could take the $1,400 stimulus checks. Well, he also went on to say that this money is still going out to the American people, but it is going to those that still need to be repaid. So, what simply happened was Republicans are saying, okay, you want to include language to block private debt collectors from taking a stimulus check, an economic impact payment? Great, but we're not going to go forward with this simply because you didn't work with us, so we are not going to work with you. So now Republicans are going to punish the American people who may need these $1,400 stimulus checks simply because Democrats decided not to work with them. And even Pat Toomey, he went as far as saying this, and this is from him, not from me. He said, and I quote, "How about the deadbeat dad not paying his child support?" Now, and you guys know this, I don't side with Democrats, I don't side with Republicans. I'm trying to be right in the middle here. And what I can tell you is this statement by Senator Pat Toomey is very unfair. And I say this because during this pandemic, many people were impacted negatively by everything that's happened. So calling somebody a deadbeat doesn't technically take everything into consideration. So I think this was very unfair of him for saying this. However, I understand if you take out the name calling stuff like that, I understand people that do require child support. The parent that does take care of their children might need that additional income to take care of that child. And if they can't get it, yeah, it's a little bit unfair in that sense as well. So right now, that's what we're hearing, that there's no way Republicans are going to accept a bill at this point to allow private debt collectors to not take the stimulus checks. So at this point, this is big news. And I say this not just because you may have a private debt or a debt in collection that could be garnished, but because of this simple fact. If Republicans are not willing to negotiate on this one issue, that's going to impact probably, I'd say, less than 5% of Americans. That's probably even a high number. Let's say 2% of Americans. I'm just throwing this number out in air, but let's say this bill or the $1,400 stimulus checks, if let's say 2% of them go to private debt collectors that are now garnishing the money, if Republicans are not willing to budge on this, there's probably much more in the future that Republicans are not going to go for. So trying to get a bipartisan bill at this point is seen highly unlikely. But who knows? We'll just have to wait and see what happens in the future. And another huge bill that was proposed today was a bill to tax stocks, bonds, and derivatives. This is a big one. This is not a huge number that I'm going to throw out, but depending on who you are, how much you actively trade, this could be big. So here's what we know. Today there was a bill proposed that is going to, and this was actually introduced back in 2019 as well, but this would implement a 0.1% tax on the fair market value of a share when it is sold. So what this means, for example, let's just say Tesla is at $650. I think they're pretty close to that right now, which is not great because Tesla has been coming down over the recent few days. But what we do know is the tax per sale would be about 65 cents per share. It's not a lot of money. However, let's say somebody is a daily trader. They trade every once in a while trade in now positions, and let's say they have 10 shares they decide to sell. Well, they would now have a tax of $6.50 just for that one sale. The problem is, if this is not taxed immediately and as kind of like a fee, and then you have to go pay this at the end of the year, in many cases, millions of people, millions of traders are going to be caught holding the bag at the end of the year. They're going to have, maybe hundreds or even thousands of dollars in fees and this 0.1% tax, and that could hurt many people. But according to Democrats, the goal of this tax is to stop risky trading and get people to invest into the economy and not into the market. So what they're technically saying is the market is too volatile at this point, so let's get all the new traders, the newbies, right? Let's get all them out, get all the little retail investors out, and then we can have our stock market back. It's pretty much what they're saying. But what they're trying to do in addition to that is they're trying to find more money to pay for President Biden's Build Back Better plan. So right now they are coming in, they are finding some hurdles that they're coming across both from the Republican side and centrist Democrats. But as of right now, this is looking like a difficult bill to pass, but we will see. Now, if you trade stocks on a daily basis like I do, then this might not be the most welcoming news. But what we do know is that this is something that we need to keep an eye out for just in case you do trade in the stock market. If you do, great. I highly encourage it. You can make a lot of money from it, but at the same time, you can also lose money. So just be careful. Now, another tax that we got clarification on today, we actually got this clarification from White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. She said that when President Biden says he wants to tax those that are making over $400,000 per year, a lot of people took that as, okay, if you make over $400,000 per year as an individual, over $800,000 per year as a couple. No. What Jen Psaki said today is that President Biden wants to make it clear that this tax is for a family making over $400,000 per year, or a couple, or an individual only making over $200,000. They would be taxed at a higher rate. So just need to keep that in mind. I don't know how many of you are making over $200,000 per year or over $400,000 as a family, but this is something to keep an eye out for. Another huge piece of legislation that was in the $1.9 trillion stimulus package as well was to protect multi-employer pension plans. This is something I never really touched on because there's an issue with it. What this is saying, and so we're starting to finally get some more reports out on it, so I decided I'll touch on this right now. But what we are seeing is that, or what we saw, was the Democrats and the Biden administration put pension plans up on a pedestal, and Social Security was down here at the bottom, down here at the base, okay, down here in the mud. And like nobody cared about Social Security, everyone was caring about these multi-employer pension plans. Well, by doing this, by protecting the multi-employer pension plans, it's difficult to say, but by doing this is giving the retirees their income back, because a lot of them saw payroll cuts. They didn't get as many hours as they used to. They weren't getting the pay that they used to get. Some had to change jobs, and by changing jobs, they actually took a little bit less. But now people are deciding to ask, what about us on Social Security? What about us? What are you going to do for us? Because you just protected the pensions. Great, those private pensions. What about us? When we are supposed to be backed by the federal government, how are you going to provide for us? Well, what we are hearing is that the average Social Security recipient only gets about 30% of their pre-retirement income. That's not a lot. Studies say that Social Security recipients need at least 70% in order to get rid of the Social Security income crisis. Now, here's the problem with that. From going from 30% up to 70%, you have to more than double. Currently, right now, the average Social Security recipient per year gets about $17,000. That is average. You may be higher, you may be lower, maybe you're right there, okay? But that is average. What you need to keep in mind is this, okay? Because that's about $1,500 per month. What you need to keep in mind, it's a little bit less, but you get the idea. What you need to keep in mind is this. If you were to go from 30% to 70% with an average of $17,000 right now, that would mean you have to go closer to about $38,000 per year per person to get Social Security benefits to actually get to that 70%. Some are saying that no, that is way too high. So here's what we do know. Some lawmakers are saying that we need to get the average income up to $25,000 per year for every single Social Security recipient in order to live comfortably for the rest of their lives. So this means you could potentially see, a decent increase. You could see about a 30% increase right here. So what you need to understand with this is right now, everything is dependent on the wealth tax. What we know is that Senator Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, multiple other senators, and a lot of people in the House are currently proposing and really pushing President Biden to let's implement a wealth tax. Let's get more people on board with a wealth tax. A wealth tax would simply provide a tax to the wealthiest individuals in the country. So Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, so on and so forth. A lot of these people that are multi-billionaires, right? Jeff Bezos is pushing 200 billion, Elon Musk pushing 200 billion as well. So those people, Warren Buffett, who's right around 100 billion, I believe, those are people that would be taxed at the highest level, but also could see a 2% tax on their wealth, anything over $50 billion. So it's a decent amount of money. And this would be taxed per year according to multiple reports. Now, if you're on Social Security, just understand this. They are now starting to talk about what they could do to provide some type of boost to you. It may not be the $200 per month boost. It may not be a 5% increase to your Social Security benefits, but they're talking, and that at least is moving in the right direction. So a lot of you guys have been asking, what about us on Social Security? Well, as of right now, that's what we know. These are reports as of this morning. So I'm not going back and showing you the $200 per boost or per month boost that President Biden promised back in March of 2020. This is now. This is as of, March 18th, 2021. These are reports coming out today. So just keep that in mind. Now, and if you have other questions on any of this stuff, please ask in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to those questions as quickly as possible. But in other news, and this is big because a lot of people have been asking about this, what about the issue down at the border? What about all those illegals coming in, right? What do we do about them? Are they going to take our jobs that we are struggling to get because now they're going to be cheaper? So the same person can go and hire an illegal immigrant to work, and they're going to pay them, minimum wage, even less than minimum wage in some cases, and they're going to take our jobs that we are struggling to get back. Well, here's what we know. Right now, President Biden plans on sending the United States surplus of vaccines down to Mexico and up to Canada. He's already spoken with both leaders of Mexico and Canada, and they have agreed to work with the United States. As to how Canada is, I'm not really sure, but the plan is to get Mexico to help keep people from crossing the border. And in exchange, President Biden is agreeing to send them our additional vaccines. Now, here's what you need to keep in mind. Right now, according to one White House official, they said our top priority remains vaccinating the U.S. population. But the reality is that this virus knows no borders, and ensuring our neighbors can contain the virus is mission critical to protecting the health and economic security of Americans and for stopping the spread of COVID around the globe. And they also went on to say that this deal will most likely not be addressed or announced until tomorrow, which is Friday. So just keep that in mind. So what I can tell you right now is there's a lot of stuff going on. Lawmakers are fighting because Republicans had really no input into the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. Democrats are arguing that, well, the reason we didn't give you any input is because it would just taken longer, and so we just kind of went the quicker route. Well, Republicans then fire back saying, well, you went the quicker route. Now you're trying to fix all those little loopholes that people are now seeing. Well, yeah, you can take your stimulus check. Okay, great. Well, if people can take someone's stimulus check, by garnishing it, that creates a whole nother issue. More problems, which in addition is most likely going to cause more stimulus checks to come out in the future. But again, this will have to be through some type of budget reconciliation Or what President Biden is wanting to do and what Senator Joe Manchin wants is to find some type of bipartisan agreement, which many say at this point is going to be very difficult. So that is currently what we are hearing. That is currently what we know. As I know more, I promise I'll come back and share more. Just want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, again, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.